What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, for Top 5 Tuesday, we're going to be doing the top 5 most overrated units in Epic 7. Now, before you get your pitchforks out and you're ready to type that angry comment and be like, yo, King Blair, you're wrong, this unit is OP, I just want to say that being overrated does not mean a unit is bad. By any means, these units are very good. There's a reason why they are rated so highly. So they're still very good units, but I just feel like people just put them way higher than they should be when they're just, you know, they're good units, but they're like a little overrated, right? So that's what this is supposed to be about. So now you can type below your angry comments and tell me if you think there's another unit I may have missed that you think is overrated. Maybe you're one of the people that thinks that Arby's overrated, you know? He's not on this list, spoiler. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing, the top 5 overrated units that I think people give way too much credit for. But without further ado, let's get into the top 5. Again, this is supposed to be kind of a fun one, but also one that, you know, there's a little bit of truth to it. So yeah, first let's start with an honorable mention. That the reason I didn't put her here is because she kind of deserves the rep. You know, she is a really good unit, but I personally don't struggle against her, but I could see how a lot of people would struggle against her and why you may think that she's like super OP. But Landy is an honorable mention. Is she amazing? Yes, she's absolutely insane. She destroys tank teams. She's super good, but the reliance on Guiding Light is pretty big. Landy, turn 1, the speed buff is amazing. The CR push is amazing. But if he doesn't get that Guiding Light proc, she kind of just dies. And if there's a Bazaar on the board, she's not going to be able to do her job. Or any stripper for that matter. She's going to get deleted turn 2, right? So yes, Landy, amazing unit. I'm not trying to take any away from her. This is an honorable mention. The reason why is because I was like, I could see her. People kind of overhype her a little bit, but there's a reason why, right? So that's why she's in here. The other one that I thought about, but then I was like, oh no, this unit's actually broken, is a unit like Seaside, where people really hate Seaside. And I was like, no, she's kind of overrated. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, no, this unit is not overrated. So that's kind of the units and kind of the discussions we're going to be having in this video. So just kind of seeing some of the units that people think are super dummy OP, but in reality, they're just, you know, they're right? So starting with number 5, we have none other than Cerise. Now again, this unit is not a bad unit, but a lot of people still think she's oppressive, right? People think that she's broken and potentially needs to get nerfed, right? She is very strong. She's a very good unit. She dual attacks with the S1. She has the potential to stun. She can strip and set up decreased defense and can apply restrict. That is all very, very good, but she does have her counters and she is taking that slot as a support. So she is taking that slot away, particularly in RTA, that slot as a support. The S3, very, very powerful skill, but units like Lilius can do very well against this. Units like Vivian. Even with you against units like Last Order Crow, you do give them a barrier and they're still able to set up immunity afterwards since she's usually so fast. She requires a very particular team composition, and there are units that do counter her. I mentioned Lilius, I mentioned Last Order Crow to an extent, DJ Bazaar kind of counters her. Bazaar in a way kind of does counter her as well because you're able to push her back. The fact that Restrict also stops you from pushing them back actually makes it so you can't pair her with units like Bazaar, which would be really cool if you could. But again, very, very powerful unit. The reason why I think she's overrated is because people think that she alone can win a game. No, she and an ally can win a game. She's not winning games by herself. She's a very good support and she does the job very well. But if you're able to manage her, deal with her, you're able to strip that invincibility early on. And if you're able to kill the ally that's really scary if they end up pulling with the S1, you're more likely than not going to be winning the fight. Especially if you have a unit that can deal with the S3. And you can cut into the combo, right? Because it's very easy to cut into a Cerise's combo. Very good unit for Cleave as well. So again, very strong unit, but again, has pretty good counters and is not winning games by herself. I think she's slightly overrated. That's why she's number 5. I don't think she's this monster that people make her out to be. Is she a good unit? Yes. Do I use her a lot, especially in arena defense? Of course. She's very good at deterring cleaves and at cleaving as well. So that is going to be the number 1. I already feel the angry comments, but you know, we gotta talk about it because I think it has some truth to it. Now on to number 4. We have none other than Tempest Surin. Now, before I start talking about her, I know she gets the nickname of being a cockroach, and that is true. Is she annoying to deal with? Absolutely. Can she single-handedly solo certain teams? Yes, without any issues. Is she this broken monster that has no counters? No. There are actually quite a few counters to her right now that actually have kind of pushed her off a little bit out of meta. She's still amazing in Arena, but for RTA, there's things like Last Rider Craw, and there's things that can really just stop her. General Purgus is another really good one. And units like Lilius, even units like Cerise actually do have a pretty good matchup against her. Even units like Ross. There are a lot of units out right now that actually have a pretty good matchup against Tempest Surin. In Arena, we have things like top model Luluka. You can bring a top model Luluka into a T Surin. You can usually also just cleave T Surin's team and leave T Surin for last. You can just set up immunity, again, with the Last Rider Crawl. There are a lot of ways to actually deal with Tempest Surin now, but people still think she's this monster unit that is unstoppable. Having actually pulled T Surin myself, I used to be one of the people that used to think she was a cockroach. Using her myself, I do start seeing the limitations, so that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. To people who may not have T Surin that were struggling like I was. She actually does have quite a few counters, so if you actually learn how to play around her, she's not as oppressive as you may think. Is she good? Yes. Is she amazing? Yes. Is she still insane in Guild Wars? Absolutely. But not the monster that everyone makes her out to be, right? She definitely still has her counters and can definitely be dealt with properly, right? So now let's move to the number 3. Now these are getting kind of dicey, but it has some truth based into it. Faithless Lidica. The reason why a lot of people hate Faithless Lidica is because she's so associated with Cleave. And Cleave is such a hated playstyle that everyone hates Faithless Lidica, right? And was she oppressive in the past? Absolutely. This unit was a monster, right? She had barely any counters. The skill nullifier was absolutely stupid. Not a lot of units can actually stop the S2. It makes it so Kayron doesn't properly counter Cleave unless they're an FCC, and Cleave players could literally just ban the FCC and they would have a field day with your Kayron, right? So in the past, she was an insane unit for Cleave. Nowadays, the higher you go up, and I know she's still extremely good for Arena, right? For Arena offense, she's still something you can use, but even then, it's not even as impressive, right? We have things like Polides, right? We have General Purgus. We have Sage Ball. We have Idol Shear. There's a lot of other units that can actually stop Faithless Lidica now, right? She's not this super end-all be-all for Cleave. She used to be. She used to be the core piece to Cleave teams. Cleavers nowadays, especially higher brackets, rarely use F Lidica that often. Yes, is she used still for Cleaves? Absolutely. She's still a very strong Cleave unit. But she's not that premier slot that she used to be. Cerise usually is used more often for Cleaves. Oxlots is still the premier unit for Cleaves. You also have Operator Sigrid now. There's a lot of other units that Faithless Lidica is not this monstrosity that she used to be, right? She's a good unit, but nothing like she used to be for Cleave. She doesn't see nearly as much play as she used to, but people still hate her because they associate her with Cleave, and Cleave is one of the most hated playstyles in Epic 7. With their own rights, right? Because it's something that you do have to be very annoying. But Polides definitely edged her out, particularly in Arena, right? That's the big one. Arena, she got super edged out, and RTA, she still remains one of the strongest last pick options for Cleave teams. Very, very powerful last pick option. But there are better options than her as of right now. Now on to the number 2. We have none other than my boy, Kayron. This one actually makes me really sad because he actually used to be a monster, right? He used to be one of the most pull units in Epic 7. Is he still an amazing Cleave counter? Yes. Is he still a good DPS? Yes. But people still think he's the Fire RB, right? Because he had that title. He was the Fire RB, right? He used to be the unit that people used to fear. He used to be the Cleave counter. He used to just destroy Cleave. He used to destroy teams with the S3, could pop them, murk them, destroy them. It is not a good time for Kayron right now. There's things like F10A, Cerise, Seaside, Diani, Crawl, Last Rider Crawl. There are so many units out there that just stomp on Kayron. And even the units that he's supposed to counter, like Landy, have Guiding Light. So things that have Guiding Light, Kayron can't pop them with the S3. And with Guiding Light, they're actually able to survive his S1, which is just very saddening. Right? He requires way more gear for him to do a lot better. Right? So he's a lot harder to build. You can still get a lot of mileage out of him. I still use my Kayron. People still use their Kayron and still have their Kayron. But he's nothing like he used to be. But people still think he's like this OP DPS, right? He's not the same OP DPS he was before. He's good. Very good. Don't get me wrong. But not this monster he was before. And now on to number 1. This unit is still overrated. I still see the memes. I still see the people thinking he's OP. I still know a lot of newer players think he's absolutely insane. But this guy is nothing like he used to be. He's not the monstrosity that everyone makes him out to be. You may see a lot of videos showcasing him, showing him being OP. You may hear a lot of veteran players who have bad experiences against him, thinking he's still OP. This guy is just like, he's okay. He honestly is just decent for PvE, and for Guild Wars, he's an option. He is nothing like this monstrosity that people make him out to be, that can one-shot your team by himself. Can he still counter your team and make you tilted with the amount of times he counters and smashes you? Yes. Is he good? No, he's super inconsistent. He's easily one-shottable. There are Landy that has unable to be counterattacked. Faithless Lidica, unable to be counterattacked. Spectane, unable to be counterattacked. All these units, I can just ignore him or one-shot him. He doesn't get to do what he used to do in the past. That used to be just smash with that S1 and that S2 and make your team tilt, kill Kayrons and all this other good stuff. He can't do that anymore. It's very sad times for Kayron. Even things like Cerise, they give themselves invincibility and can strip his immunity and set up for the rest of the team. And since he's so slow, he just gets popped or locked down. So just very, very sad times for Charles. People still think he's OP. He's not. I know his banner is out and I didn't talk about him. I honestly would not pull for him unless you're ready to use him for PvE and Guild Wars. That's it. If you want to use him for Guild Wars and PvE, he's very good for what he does, right? He's still a pretty good option for Guild Wars, and he's still pretty good for PvE, but not the monstrosity that he used to be at all. But people still think, you know, living in the past. So that's going to be for the top 5 overrated units. The number why was number 1, it's partially because he's out right now, and I do see a lot of early game players thinking he's this monster. He's not. And then some of the other ones, and even the honorable mentions, you know, it's still, there are ways to deal with all these units. By no means are these units bad. I don't want you guys to think that. It's just that they are units that the community tends to give them more credit than they deserve, right? But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope y'all enjoyed this top 5, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.